when my doctor presented this information to me, my belief shifted. And my belief shifted from, gee, I'm never gonna have my life back. I'm in the hospital. I'm 22 years old. My life is over. This sucks. It went from having 0.00001% chance of getting better to, wow, okay, this is an approach I've never seen before. This actually makes sense. Let me go all in on it. And you have to choose. At some point in your recovery, you're gonna have to decide what you want to believe in. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who will do whatever it takes to defend this illness and the belief that it can't ever be fixed. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I'm gonna be talking about belief. And it sounds like a very broad topic, but I'm gonna really narrow it down to how belief plays a massive role in either helping you get better, helping you get back to thriving health wherever you are right now on your journey, or how it makes you go backwards. And if you're watching this right now, you're probably dealing with a bunch of mysterious, debilitating symptoms, things that the doctors can't seem to pinpoint or figure out. Maybe they've told you you're perfectly normal. Hey, your blood tests are all normal, your scans are fine, and probably why you're watching this right now. And more than just the physical symptoms, I think people don't put enough emphasis on the mental side of things. Because as much as CFS, long COVID, post-viral illness, fibromyalgia, as much as it is a physical condition, that's what it seems to be classified as in the medical industry, there's a whole nother side to it. It's more than just a physical struggle, it's a mental struggle as well, an emotional struggle. And it's just as, if not more of a struggle mentally than physically. Because sure, yes, maybe you can't walk around, maybe you can't do as much as you used to do, but who you are as a person with your identity, that's kind of stripped away from you. When you can't work the job you used to work, when you can't be the person you want to be and laugh as hard as you can with your friends, and you feel like a part of you is left behind prior to you getting this thing, you feel like a different person. So there is a sense of loss of identity. It takes a mental toll. And that's why I think it's important to talk about this side of things. And specifically for this video, we're going to talk about belief. Now, there are two things you can believe in here. Let's make it very simple. I mean, sure, there's a lot of different things, but for the sake of recovering from these mysterious symptoms, you need to get to a place where your belief in recovery is stronger than your belief in the illness. Does that make sense? Let me paint a picture here. When you're going throughout the day, when you're existing throughout the day, when you're in your own thoughts, when you're lying in bed or sitting on the couch or walking around doing your thing, are you telling yourself that you can make it? Are you envisioning that future where you're perfectly normal, where you're able to travel again, where you're able to work? Are you talking to yourself as if someone would be giving you advice or someone would be encouraging you? Are you that helping voice, kind of like the angel on the shoulder? Or is it like the devil on the shoulder? Are you constantly putting yourself down in recovery? Are you saying, yeah, that would be nice, but it's never gonna be that way. Yeah, I had a nice life. I guess I'm gonna have to settle for this. And does it even get to the point where you start to defend the illness? Now, I know I've been there for my first maybe 4 years. People would say, hey, you should be fine. Nothing's wrong with you. And I'd say, no, there's definitely something wrong. And obviously there is something wrong. And this is before I found a solution. If you're on my channel right now, my YouTube channel, you have found the solution. So the solution is right in front of you. It's in the videos. You can listen to it. You can watch the YouTube videos. Once I found the solution, I had to go all in on the belief that, okay, this works. This has to work. There's no other option. Like, what else am I gonna do? My doctor told me all these things because he's the one who showed me a lot of this information. What am I gonna do? Not believe it? So I had two options there. I could stay stuck in my own thoughts and my own beliefs and say, no, I've tried everything. This doesn't work. I've tried brain retraining before. I've tried EFT tapping and I crashed because even just tapping on my body, that was using up too much energy. So I told myself these stories, but when my doctor presented this information to me, my belief shifted. And my belief shifted from, gee, I'm never gonna have my life back. I'm in the hospital. I'm 22 years old. My life is over. This sucks. It went from having 0.00001% chance of getting better to, wow, okay, this is an approach I've never seen before. This actually makes sense. Let me go all in on it. At some point in your recovery, you're gonna have to decide what you want to believe in. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there who will do whatever it takes to defend this illness and the fact not the fact, the belief that it can't ever be fixed. Whether it's on the forums, whether it's people commenting on YouTube videos like this, people are gonna say, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or how many medical degrees do you have? Well, I don't have medical degrees, but I recovered, and I help people recover. We have helped doctors in the program recover. So I think we know what we're doing here, and I think there's enough proof out there. If you listen to all the recovery stories, there's a common theme that every single person who has recovered has, and that common theme is they actually believe they could get better. So you have to ask yourself, what is your mind justifying every single day? Is it trying to justify the fact that you can't get better or the fact that you can get better? Which story is playing more in your head? Now, in the beginning, it's very normal for that voice to be saying, I don't want to do this. I can't get better. I was stuck there. And the reason why I didn't want to believe in recovery after a certain point was because I tried so many dang times. I had gotten my hopes up. I had dreamed of doing these things by next summer or this Christmas it's going to be better, and it wasn't, and it was worse. And I told myself, well, next year it's going to be better. And then it was even worse. So I got tired of having my hopes up and getting excited about the future when it was just going to be stripped away from me. It was like a buzzkill. You know, you get excited, you build this vision in your mind, and the next thing you know, not only did it not happen, but you actually got worse. So I totally understand the hesitation to believe in recovery, but here's the thing, that's because I didn't have the information. I didn't have the information that you guys have right here on this channel. And I'm sharing everything my doctor shared with me, plus more, plus a lot of my personal experiences, hundreds of hours working with people within our programs, outside of our programs, my own personal experience. So you just have to choose what to believe in. Your mind can fight for something. Is it gonna fight for the illness, or is it gonna fight against the illness? If you truly want your life back, and I do believe you do want your life back, if you're here watching this video, we're 7 minutes in, you wouldn't be here right now if a part of you didn't believe that you could get better. And so for those of you watching this right now, probably sitting at home, you're probably watching these videos to look for strategies to recover, to feel inspiration, to feel like there is a way out. And I want to tell you that there is a way out, right? And use these videos to kind of pour fuel on the fire of belief. And it's not even about just belief, but belief comes from understanding what's going on. You can only go so long with blind faith. Once you understand these principles and you start implementing them and seeing that it works even just a little bit, your belief now becomes thinking that, yeah, I'm probably gonna get better, to it is inevitable that I will recover. So it shifts from operating based on blind faith in the beginning, and then by the end of it, you just know that you're gonna recover. It's just a matter of time, right? So that belief builds over time, but you wanna pour the belief in the right things, because it can work for you or it can work against you. If you put your belief in the wrong things, right? And let's say, for example, you're expanding activity and you do something and then you flare up with symptoms and you have an adjustment period. If you say, oh, see, I knew it. I knew I was gonna flare up. I knew I was gonna go backwards. This stuff doesn't work. Well, now you're feeding the narrative that you can't fix this, right? And that plays a huge role in your ability to recover. If you talk like that, you will dig yourself into a deeper hole. Versus if you say, okay, this is an adjustment period, I'm flaring up, but this is part of the process. Yeah, it sucks, but it's just the nervous system. And sometimes you have to do that hundreds of times a day for it to really sink into your brain. So the belief in recovery has to be bigger than your belief in the illness. And the other thing too is you can believe as much as you want, but I think the more belief you have, the more you will naturally implement the things that you see on this channel, or implement the things you know you need to do, like respond well. It's not easy. It is very difficult, especially in the beginning, but just like working out, those first few workouts are very tough. It's very tough to stick with it. That's why most people don't continue working out. I used to be a personal trainer, so I've seen this pattern many times where people get really excited, they start doing something, and then they say, you know what, it's not for me, and they start implementing the practices less and less and less till they're not even implementing it anymore, and then they say, well, no, the gym doesn't work, or I can't get fit, and that becomes their belief. It's the same thing with recovery. If you try these things, the more belief you have, the more likely you are to stick to it versus just trying something out. You truly have to believe at your core, even if it's 0.00001%, that you will have the life you desire. You want that. And you have to hold on to that, because how it works is, when I was at my lowest point, this was in the ICU, I was there for about 4 weeks, IVs, They were giving me, I don't even know what they were giving me. I was on like 5 or 6 different medications and it was all a mess. Painkillers, folic acid, I was getting blood thinners. They were injecting my stomach. Not deep, it was like a little bee sting, but that wasn't fun. They were giving me gravel for my nausea, lots of Tylenols, and I was at my lowest of lowest points. But I remember, if belief was like a battery, I was on barely 1%. I was ready to throw in the towel. I was like, there's no point in all of this. I'm literally just taking up air and suffering. What is the point? But this is where you find a small part inside, a very dimly lit part of that dark cave, because it feels like you're contracting into this dark cave where life just kind of goes to crap. You lose everything you ever had. You even lose your ability to think sometimes, but you have to go deep within to this like dark cave. But you'll find this place where there's still that hope for a future, right? And if you can recognize that place, it's like that little spark goes off in the cave. And eventually, if we're talking analogies, it's like you find these other visions you have of the future, these things that would excite you, that you want to do, that are worth fighting for. You need to find something that's worth fighting for. And I found that I wasn't doing it just for myself, I was doing it for other people. So as I'm building this vision, it's almost like I'm in the cave gathering these twigs, these little sticks, these little pieces of, leaves, putting it into the fire, and it grows a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. But you have to add to that fire. Keep believing, keep seeing that vision for the future, right? But also the biggest thing is you actually have to fan the flame. Believing is not enough. You have to actually back it up with action and implement the things into recovery. You could be the most motivated person in recovery, but if you're not putting things into practice, it's not gonna work. So that's all I wanted to share in this video. Belief is super important. If there's something to take away from this, it's be mindful of where you're putting your belief in. Which plant are you watering? Are you watering the belief that you can't recover, or are you watering belief that you can recover? Because whatever you water, that's what grows. Whatever you focus on, that's what expands. Whatever you fix your mind on, that's what comes to fruition in life. And I'm sure there's some kind of scientific explanation for this. I talked about this in some other videos. The reticular activating system, that's a good example as well of how this works. Whatever you focus on, that's what will show up more and more. For example, if I'm on the highway and my friend says, how many white cars do you see? And I take about 30 seconds and I say, okay, there's maybe 30 cars. And then he says, how many red cars were there? My mind won't really remember how many red cars there were because I wasn't looking for it. I was focused on the white cars. So that's what I saw more of. If you're focused on how you can't recover and how it's not possible, that's what you will see more of. If you focus on how recovery is inevitable, how it's possible, how you're gonna get there at some point eventually, you're gonna see proof of recovery, of how you're moving forward. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you resonated with anything I said on this. I always like to get feedback from the community. And always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.